Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It begins with the immortal 5th century sorceress Vivienne Nimue on the verge of wiping Britain off the map. The Knights of the Round Table ride out to meet her on Pendle Hill where King Arthur pretends to surrender England. It's just an ambush as the sorcerer Merlin scares away all the supernatural creatures while Arthur puts an end to Nimue using his sword Excalibur. The Queen of Blood's been betrayed by her most trusted witch Ganeida, and since she's impossible to kill they segment her into 6 pieces to be hidden around the country. In present day the half-demon investigator Hellboy is searching for his partner in Tijuana. He went missing while tracking down a nest of vampires and is found dressed like a wrestler and going by the Mayan name for Death Bat. Ruiz calls out Hellboy in front of the crowd to challenge him in the ring, so the friend obliges in an attempt to talk some sense into him. As the fight goes on, Ruiz begins to mutate into his monstrous form, and when revealed to the crowd it sends all the patrons running for the hills. He's burned by the referee's crucifix and completely transforms into a man-bat that Hellboy accidentally impales on a turnbuckle. He turns back to normal before calling Hellboy his true name of Anung Rama and warning him that he plays a big part in the end of the world. Depressed over his friend's death, Hellboy drinks at a bar until 2 handlers come to take him back to headquarters in Colorado. The government's Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense has already honored Ruiz as a fallen soldier, and the first thing Hellboy does once he's home is to file down his horns so they don't grow back. When his adoptive father Professor Broom arrives, he tells Hellboy that he's wanted in England next to hunt down giants that are terrorizing the countryside. Meanwhile, we're shown a pig creature named Gruagach visiting the witch Baba Yaga as they both have bones to pick with Hellboy. She orders him to collect all the pieces of Nimue to get their revenge, so he begins by visiting a church run by silent monks who only speak through chalkboards. He slaughters them all except for a single monk who he forces to guide him beneath the church to where the first piece of Nimue is kept. The caskets are still sealed with enchantments, so after the monk refuses to open it, Gruagach eats his tongue to speak the required incantation himself. Inside's Nimue's head, who instructs Gruagach on where to find the rest of her body parts as she sits around watching TV and catching up on how the world's changed. When Hellboy gets to England, he visits the headquarters of a secret organization of hunters called the Osiris Club. He's greeted by the high-ranking member Lord Adam, who shows their guest around the trophy room and tells him how his father Broom joined them for a hunt. They can normally handle giants with their electrified spears easily, but Adam says this time there are 3 of them and he needs Hellboy's help to defeat them. The club seer Lady Elizabeth introduces herself and reveals to Hellboy his origins with a flashback to World War II. The mad monk Rasputin and his goose-stepping minions tried to summon a creature from another dimension to use as a weapon for the Germans. They failed to finish their ritual when the heroic Agent Lobster Johnson showed up with the Allies and prevented the enemy from winning with his slick moves. He branded his symbol on the defeated Rasputin, and Broom was instructed to kill whatever may have been brought to Earth from the other side. When he saw the young demon, he chose to spare his life and adopt him as his son to raise into a good man instead of a weapon for evil. After he receives his own horse, Hellboy rides with the Osiris hunters in searching for the giants who've left a devastated village. Lord Adam says that the giants will return for the food, but as they come upon a bridge, the club double-cross Hellboy and start impaling him repeatedly with their spears. He manages to kill some of the grunts and leap off the bridge down to the river, but they follow him and corner him in his weakened state. They begin to electrocute him as the leader says he'll never let the devil sit on the throne of England, which Lady Elizabeth's recent visions led them to believe's going to happen. Before he can land the fatal blow, Lord Adam's head's knocked off and Hellboy recovers to find the giants have returned and killed all of the hunting party. As the 2 of them feast on their piled up bodies, the third attacks Hellboy from behind, but he manages to impale it in the eyeball with a tree. He climbs onto its back when a second wildly swings its axe into the giant's head, killing it and leaving Hellboy with 2 left to deal with. He punches the second in the eyeball as well, then when it trips over he shoves another tree through its head, killing it. The last one, he manages to use a giant sword to cut it down to his size before putting the weapon in its skull. Just then a strange van pulls up, but Hellboy passes out again and wakes up in an apartment after being rescued by his old friend Alice. She's a powerful spirit medium and says that all of the dead, including her parents, are warning her to kill Hellboy, but she owes him for saving her life as a child. Suddenly several agents break into the apartment, but it's just Professor Broom and the BPRD to confirm that Hellboy is still alive. He swears he had no idea about the betrayal but says they've bigger things to worry about as the final piece of Nimue is at the Osiris headquarters. Broom introduces Hellboy to Major Ben Daimio, who received his scars from a demonic jaguar creature that killed his whole team, leaving him the only survivor. He accompanies Hellboy and Alice back to the Osiris Club while Hellboy receives his new revolver called the Good Samaritan before reaching the hunter's headquarters. Alice can hear dozens of people screaming, but when the team enter they find everyone's already been brutally slaughtered and she's just hearing ghosts. They find Lady Elizabeth's body, so Alice makes a physical form of her spirit come to life from her throat to speak with Hellboy. She warns him that if Nimue finds a king she'll be unbeatable, so she ordered the hunters to kill the half-demon as he's a potential suitor. Hearing a noise, Hellboy finds Gruagach still in the vault taking the last piece of Nimue with him, so he attempts to stop him. He's distracted when the witch herself appears to talk about all the things they could achieve together and how much the humans hate them for being different. She retreats when Hellboy draws his cannon and his shots almost hit Daimio, who needs to take injections anytime he's feeling on edge. On the way to headquarters, Hellboy tells the team that he once saved baby Alice when she was taken by fairies and replaced by Gruagach. Hellboy branded the young creature with iron, who now wants revenge for having his life of happiness taken away from him. The fairies eventually returned Alice safe to her parents to avoid retribution from Hellboy, leaving Gruagach to resort to resurrecting the Blood Queen for revenge. Arriving at a safe house in London, Hellboy angrily asks Broom why they can't find a way to live in harmony with the supernatural creatures. The father can tell that Nimue's got to him and says that he saw potential in Hellboy to be a good person, but he just thinks Broom used him as a weapon to kill fellow magical beings. Meanwhile, Daimio goes to a gunmaker to acquire a special bullet made from Judas silver and blood of a saint as a deterrent against Hellboy if necessary. The elevator begins to falter and Hellboy finds himself transported to another realm where Baba Yaga's house walks around on chicken legs and lowers to allow him access. It takes off again, so Hellboy enters to find the witch who summoned him here, wanting to make a deal for one of the demon's eyeballs. He once took out her eyeball and imprisoned her here for an attempt to resurrect Stalin, but she offers to tell Hellboy Nimue's location. She's prepared a large feast made from the hands of children, but Hellboy's disgusted and agrees on the deal that they're required to seal with a kiss. However, when Hellboy learns about Pendle Hill, he refuses to give his eyeball since they never specified a time frame. The angry Baba Yaga attempts to take it herself, but when she's unable to defeat him, her house throws Hellboy out the front door and into Broom's office. The first thing that he does is get a breath mint before the team head to Nimue's location, which has since had a small town built beneath it. When the trio get to Pendle Hill, Nimue conjures an undead army to defend her position, so Alice and Daimio hold them off with the medium punching the spirits out of the corpses. Hellboy goes after the queen alone while she summons all of the supernatural creatures from the land to her, including her traitorous sisters, who return her thorny crown before groveling for mercy. After gruesomely killing two of them, Nimue leaves Ganeida alive to serve her when suddenly Hellboy shows up to fight and the creatures all scatter. The queen heals instantly and knocks Red to the ground, but instead of letting Gruagach get his revenge, she sends him through a portal and tries to tempt Hellboy to join her. He refuses and calls her crazy, so she takes a thorn from the crown and throws it into Alice's neck, poisoning her before leaving through the portal. Under duress, Ganeida spills the beans on where to find Merlin, so Hellboy and Daimio bring Alice to his tomb to help with the poison. He awakens for the first time in centuries and removes the thorn, saving Alice's life, but Merlin knocks her and Daimio unconscious to talk to Hellboy in private. He reveals to Hellboy that he's a direct descendant of Arthur after his human mother married a demon and gave birth to the half-breed. Because of her lineage only, he can wield Excalibur and use it to defeat Nimue, but when he goes to grab it, he sees a vision of himself riding a dragon and gleefully destroying Earth. He refuses to take it for fear of bringing about the apocalypse, but Merlin wasted the last of his magic to summon the sword, causing him to die. Meanwhile, Nimue's powers fully restored and she begins to unleash a plague upon London, killing all of its residents. Hellboy and the team get word of the attack and return to find the safe house already destroyed and Broom's missing. They learn to head to St. Paul's Cathedral, where the supernatural creatures have begun to gather, and Hellboy is almost shot by a local officer due to his appearance. They find inside a gigantic Gruagach, having been enhanced by Nimue, and Hellboy fights him while Daimio's trapped under some falling rubble. Unable to get out, he tosses away his injection and gives into his jaguar side, transforming into the same type of creature that attacked him. He assists Hellboy in battling Gruagach, who easily defeats them both and attempts to finish off Hellboy, but Nimue appears to save him as she intends to make him her king. Now that she has no use for Gruagach, she shrinks him until he explodes and then drops Hellboy through the floor of the cathedral into Arthur's tomb. Hellboy still denies joining Nimue, so she brings in Broom to slit his throat in front of his son and encourage him to pull Excalibur from the stone to take his revenge. It causes his horns and a flaming crown to appear as Hellboy turns into his true form and colossal demons begin to emerge from the earth and lay waste to London. Daimio turns back into human and retrieves the gun loaded with the bullet to kill Hellboy, but Alice runs to Broom's body to channel his spirit. He reminds his son that he was raised to be a good man and bluntly tells him to grow a pair instead of only following Nimue. Able to make his own decisions, Hellboy beheads Nimue and plunges Excalibur into the ground, which drags all of the demons back to hell. He breaks off his horns and crown again, then takes the witch's head and throws it down before the fissure closes, preventing future resurrections. Broom tells Hellboy the best decision that he ever made was to raise him and that he loves him before giving Alice control of her body again. Daimio destroys the bullet while telling Alice that it was a mistake to make in the first place, and we jump to 6 months later where the team are in Siberia on another mission. They're taking down another secret society, so Hellboy punches Daimio to get his game face on, and they kill all of the members they come across. At the end they find a tank containing the future psychic of the BPRD and Hellboy's partner Abe Sapien. A mid-credits scene shows Hellboy drinking at Broom's grave when he's met by the ghost of Lobster Johnson. He tells Hellboy that his father doesn't want him moping about, while the smitten Hellboy says how much of a fan he is of the lobster. The after-credits scene shows Baba Yaga making a deal with another being off-screen to kill Hellboy in exchange for the witch to allow the immortal stranger to die. And the movie ends.
Ha ha ha!